So the biggest takeaway from that is I'm from New Jersey, not a quiet person. Again, my name is JoAnn Gemenden. How many of you have ever heard of New Jersey Clean Communities Council? Loving it. And Greg only knows because he Googled me on Monday when he was preparing for Jeopardy. So even though I'm not a speaker, I'm going to indulge myself a few minutes to share who we are, what we do, but more importantly, to why we can help you. New Jersey Clean Communities is a statewide litter abatement organization. We're funded by a tax on litter-generating products. So we are not a fan of the bottle bill, because if the bottle bill gets passed in New Jersey, Clean Communities goes away. But we're inherently better because we tax everything that is capable of littering. And it all goes into a fund. We get a little bit, but all the money really goes back to all of our towns and all of our counties. This year, we gave out $27.4 million in litter funding, so whoop, whoop. And I really basically, we're interestingly not in government. We're a nonprofit. We used to be part of government, not when I was there, but for some unbeknownst things, they got moved out. So we're a nonprofit, but we still work with all the counties. We work with all the towns. We shape education, we shape outreach, and we just try to help everybody come together. So I just want to really start off saying thank you to Marco for inviting me to moderate this panel. I really enjoyed this morning. It was all students and the young people that are going to be in charge 20 years from now, but I'm especially proud to be part of the old guard. Here we are, the old broads, telling you what we do, how to do it, and listen up, because this is going to be a wild ride for the next hour. There's 100 years of knowledge. Hold on. I'm 40 of them in January. It will mark my 40th year doing this, so I'm taking the brunt of this. I'm not ashamed of it. I think I always say the path in front of me is a lot shorter than the path behind me. So from that standpoint, I try to share everything I can. I have nothing to gain other than to say, oh, she was really nice and she gave me assets. So my first asset and resource, because I'm a big resource person, that's all I talk about whenever we have meetings. I brought these litter car bins. They're out there for everyone to take, so when you're driving along, eating your banana or your granola bar, just put it in your little bin. It's got a Velcro thing on the bottom and a little hangy thing, so don't leave without taking that. I'm not done yet, I'm sorry. There was also a discussion yesterday about cigarette butts, and people don't know that TerraCycle has a national program with Keep America Beautiful to collect cigarette butts and recycle them into park benches. So if anybody is interested, I already have the lady in the green sweater. This is yours to take home. You took a picture of it. I put my label on it, but there's another label underneath, so that's up to you. It's an easy crowd. You're clapping. Last but not least, I'm a big resource person. I was the only one in my office. Well, there was three of us, me and myself and I. I worked for 35 years, uphill battle. One of my biggest challenges was always graphics and media and what to share and how to get the message out. Working with Clean Communities now, we had a fantastic intern, and we got into social media and doing reels. So get your pens and your paper, and this will be your only notes you have to take from me. Litter Free NJ, there's a downloads page. Right now we have 6 reels. They all have little share buttons up top. One is on just general litter, one is on balloon litter, one is on I should know this, one is on cigarette butt litter. We have one on pet waste, scoop the poop, because why is that a problem? I don't understand. And one, we added one on skip the stuff. They're all done in Canva, and I say that because if you want the Canva file, just say, hey, JoAnn from New Jersey, can I have the Canva file? You can take it, you can change the beginning and the end, make it your own. I don't care. So that being said, that's my resource, Litter Free NJ, downloads page. Now to the heart and the meat of why we're here. We're going to learn all about balloon litter. So you just sit, take your notes, figure out what they did, and just replicate it. That's the reason you come to a conference, right? Not to do more work, but to learn how to work smarter, not harder. So these ladies are going to guide you down that path. They've done the legislative journey already, which if anybody's ever tried to change the legislative minds, it's a struggle from day one. They're going to tell you how to do outreach and education, and I'm not going to steal their thunder. So I'm supposed to introduce everybody first, which is not what I like to do. Look at me, I'm going to get my notes. I generally like to work off the cuff. I'm not really good at reading. So our first speaker is Christina Trapani from Clean Virginia Waterways. She's the executive director. She knows her stuff, and she's going to wow you. Next speaker is Virginia Witmer. She's the outreach coordinator for the Coastal Zone Management in Virginia. And last but certainly not least is Cynthia Seibold from Balloon Mission. She's from New York, so she's a little loud and sassy like me. But I think we all got a little sass up here. So first, our first sassy speaker is going to be Christina.
Also from New Jersey, originally. All right, everyone, y'all buckled up and ready for this? Yeah, she did set the stage. Got my nerves going again, thank you. My name is Christina Trapani. I'm with Clean Virginia Waterways, based in Virginia Beach now. Whoop, whoop. First of all, I do want to acknowledge my kind of co-authors, partners in crime, my mentors, the ladies that I have been working with since the beginning of time, since I had dark hair and things fit a lot better. Kathy O'Hara, you may know that name. She is one of the co-founders of the International Coastal Cleanup. And then Katie Register, she's the founder and former executive director of Clean Virginia Waterways. And without those ladies, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. But they really, you have these people that, we talk about partnerships. They weren't partners. They were like, we developed this lifestyle of just battling plastic pollution, and they were my co-warriors. And these pictures were the good ones. Like some of the pictures I have from 15 years of balloon surveys are pretty funny. Okay, first of all, why balloons? Like literally when you tell people that you have this big issue with balloons, like it is your biggest pet peeve, people kind of don't get it. They do now. Back then, not so much. Like, what's the big deal about balloons? Well, let me give you a little history about my life. I actually have a degree in business management and marketing, and then I moved to Virginia Beach, and I found out they had whales. And that was the end of that degree. I started volunteering for the Virginia Aquarium on their whale watching and dolphin watching boats, and then I found out about the stranding response program. So I started volunteering for that. At the same time, I was bartending and just trying to figure out life fresh out of college. But the stranding response program really shaped my life and the path that it went on. So I worked with the sea turtles and marine mammals, dolphins, whales, seals, all throughout Virginia. Stranding response literally means you go out and respond to these animals. So we covered the entire state, anywhere from the southernmost beaches of Falls Cape, Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge, all the way to the Barrier Islands at the eastern shore. And while working with these animals and responding to these strandings, kind of began to notice a little trend in the types of debris we were seeing on the beaches. It wasn't really like my thing, is looking at trash, but it very quickly became my thing. So that top left picture, you can see in the background, there's actually a stranded turtle on the beach, and then these just random balloons. It got to the point where the volunteers, because I really started picking these balloons up and bringing them back, and I started having piles of balloons in my office, and the volunteers started kind of doing the same thing. So I'd come into work and there'd be a Food Lion balloon with a little love note just for me, and or piles of balloons in my cubby. That picture on the bottom left, we were actually training to do a project where we were going to be catching and tagging sea turtles offshore. That day we were using balloons as practice, because there were so many out there. And then the little turtle guy there on the bottom right side, that turtle was actually from New England Aquarium, and it was a turtle that had come in cold stunned during their cold stunning season. And fortunately, the ribbon that you see there was pretty much the extent of it. It did not go all the way down the esophagus and into the gut like a lot of pieces of balloons did. But in my time with stranding, I don't really want to think about the hundreds and hundreds of turtles that I necropsied, but it was not uncommon to find little bits and pieces of plastic in their guts, and often they were little bits and pieces of balloon. I remember one of the last loggerheads, I was actually training someone to do necropsy, and this thing was been around for a while. And she's like, I can't see anything. And I'm like, did you run the gut? No. Run the gut. Take the scissors, run the gut. What did we find? A big, long balloon ribbon in that gut. So that's why balloons. There's my reason. There's my backstory. So I had started doing international coastal cleanups with Katie at Clean Virginia Waterways. My first cleanup was in 2002. And as we got to know each other over the years, we both kind of shared this anger with the number of balloons we were seeing on our beaches and in our waterways. In 2011, we just kind of decided we were going to start collecting data on balloons, because why not? So we created this Google site. Some of you might remember that. It actually still exists, because the site still exists, believe it or not. And what we did, just unfunded, just kind of off the cuff, we asked our volunteers and our partners to start collecting data on the balloons that they were finding when they were out and about or doing beach cleanups. So it was just a very basic site with a Google form. And I actually checked it the other day when I was like, is it even still there? When I was doing the presentation, and I looked at the spreadsheets, and we had well over like 600 responses over the years. Beth mentioned Jeff from the Nottoway River, the waterkeeper, Jeff Turner. He still actually puts in his data for the balloons. And I think we should bring it back. I think it's a great platform for people to just record these things, because there are so many. So that was 2011. I left the aquarium in 2013, and Kathy and I were commiserating about balloons and like, all right, let's just go out to one of the islands and see what's out there. Because we had been hearing from the biologists that worked out there when they were doing bird surveys that they were just bringing back tons and tons of balloons. So they dropped us off at the bottom of Hog Island. That's right there in the middle of the eastern shore of Virginia. And we set out with a couple of string bags and like 3 pieces of paper. I think they were actually stranding data sheets in case we found anything. And we found 170 balloons, just without even trying hard. It was about 7 miles, and we were kind of like, okay, that's interesting. We were literally like writing on the side of the paper. We had decided that we were going to collect the GPS coordinates and the type of balloon and anything interesting about it. So we decided to keep going with this. And after Hog Island, I believe we went to Smith Island, Fisherman Island. We were already doing marine debris surveys on Fisherman. We went to False Cape State Park and then Cedar Island, and we started like just collecting all this data and creating these graphs and finding out that balloons it wasn't just us. Like, this was a significant issue. Like, there were tons of balloons on these barrier islands washing in. We actually would stand there and watch them wash in. It was that bad. And they were like almost always number 1 or number 2 on our list, because we started recording the other types of debris that we were seeing out there. Okay, so now we've got this thing, and we're like, okay, this is interesting. So what are we aiming for? What information do we need to collect? Well, as Kathy and I were both working for stranding also, we collect all the information because, you never know when it might come in handy. We kept collecting GPS coordinates. Was it latex or foil, or even weather balloons? We saw a lot of those. Burst or deflated. Burst balloon, it shows that it went to altitude and then burst and then came back down, whereas a deflated balloon may have not been inflated enough to go that high and came back down. Size, shape, attachments, where they're like little plastic rings or notes. We often saw notes on them. Some people actually wrote on the balloons. We found some really weird things attached to balloons. Paper cups. We found like one of those weird feathery boa things one time. Often found writing on the balloons to heaven, messages to heaven. we started recording the types of events and occasions that the balloon might have matched up with. Of course, if it had a logo on it, that would help us identify like where the balloons were coming from. New York, Kansas, we got one from Kansas. That was a different survey, but yeah, that one was crazy. I actually called the woman, it was the health department, and I called her and I said, did you guys just do a balloon release? She said, no. I said, well, do you hand out balloons? Yeah, we do that. I said, okay, well, we just found one 1,400 miles away from where you are in the Chesapeake Bay. Just want to let you know. And I heard her voice, and she said, oh. And to this day, because I called recently, or I emailed, and I said, are you guys still not giving out balloons? She said, we are still not giving out balloons. So if you find a logo, it's worth giving them the phone call. And after 2 years of us just volunteering and doing this, the Virginia Coastal Zone Management Program and Clean Virginia Waterways said, hey, you guys are getting some really cool data. Let's fund this. And Kathy and I are like, yay. So we created the protocol with all the information that I mentioned in the previous slide. We created a data sheet for just balloons, and then we had another data sheet for marine debris. And we'd bring out volunteers when we could so we could collect data on both. And after, from 2013 to 2017, we surveyed over 111 miles of beach in 43 surveys. There's actually 2 surveys that were missing out of this because I somehow lost the GPS data on those 2 surveys and collected about 11,000 pieces of balloon-related debris. When I say balloon-related debris, I mean the ribbons, the balloons, the attachments, the notes, anything that was associated with these balloons. It's interesting when you look at the average piece of balloon-related litter per mile. Cedar Island is the northernmost island, and then Hogg, then Smith, then Fisherman. For some reason, the further south you went, and that's probably maybe because it was more populated, but these balloons are washing in from offshore. I'm not sure why that is. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon, I guess, that was happening. Falls Cape State Park, again, that's just in Virginia Beach, southernmost beach. I can remember one day picking through a big grass heap that had washed in, and we literally spent a few hours just within a quarter of a mile. We picked out 125 bits of ribbon and latex balloon that were all entangled in the seaweed. So those were the kinds of things we were seeing. When we put all the data together, again, it just reiterated the fact that balloons on our remote beaches were a significant issue. 40% of the data or of the marine debris that we were recording when we could record other debris were balloon-related litter. And that's kind of a big deal. You know, if you look at the ICC data, which shows the entire state, so it shows not just coastal, but inland waterways, parks, neighborhoods, wherever you do your ICC at, that balloon litter doesn't show up on the top 10 list. It is literally this weird phenomenon, not weird, because we're 70% water, right? The balloons are going offshore and washing back in. So that's why we're seeing the majority, and that's why our top 10 list kind of changes when you're just looking at coastal data. And to prove that, at the same time, we were also doing a statewide marine debris monitoring program, again funded by the Virginia Coastal Zone Management Program. This project started in 2014. We were looking at 4 beaches, Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge, Fisherman Island again. Fisherman Island is the southernmost piece of property on Virginia's eastern shore. So it's on the Chesapeake Bay, but you can actually kind of, when you're coming over the high rise of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, you can see Fisherman Island. That's the piece of property if you've ever been across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. But you can also see Smith Island to the back, and the ocean is right there. So it's really kind of met by both bodies of water, and therefore a large collection of trash area. But when we were doing this marine debris monitoring project, we were kind of getting the same results. We were seeing, again, that balloon litter was hitting the top 3, bottle caps and the construction material. And then you get into the things that you would normally see on the ICC top 10, the food wrappers, the plastic bottles, and things like that. Cigarette butts, like on the remote beaches, they're almost non-existent, unless it's after a holiday weekend. And then you know all the boat traffic that's been out there, and they're flicking their butts. Okay, little side note. What do you do with 10,000 balloons? Kathy O'Hara has a nice garage, and she filled it in one corner with all of those balloons in boxes, in bags. So one day I got an email from Wayne Jones at Keep Suffolk Beautiful, and he was working with a high school and a welding class, and they wanted to put together some sculptures to do an educational program about balloon litter. So we took all of the balloons out of Kathy's garage, we threw them out in the front yard, we rolled around in them for a little bit, like, these are ours. And then we stuffed them in the back of Wayne's city vehicle, which I wish I had that. I couldn't find that picture quick enough to put it on here. And I don't think he had a very pleasant ride home because they don't smell good. And he had a group of volunteers that actually separated out the balloons that had lost their color and the ones that had maintained their color. And these were the sculptures. And they have traveled all over Hampton Roads. They came to the Mid-Atlantic Marine Debris Summit several years ago at VIMS. They've been at the Botanical Garden, the Virginia Aquarium. They're really beautiful and stunning. And when you read the sign of what it actually is, it's a great educational tool. We also created trash talking turtles. This was a project that Kathy had done with her young girl who is now in her 30s. And we created a how-to guide, how to build a trash-talking turtle. And that time, Katie was in high school, and she got her eco club to build 4 of these trash-talking turtles. We filled them with balloons, and we put them in the National Wildlife Refuge, state parks, and we put up pledge sheets. And I remember visiting Eastern Shore National Wildlife Refuge Visitor Center, and there was literally a stack of pledge sheets just sitting there because all the people that came through there would see this thing and actually sign the pledge. Then we had the balloon princess. She was amazing. She would go to schools in her little balloon dress that she made and talk to kids about not releasing balloons. Okay, so fast forward 2018, we've published our first balloon report, and we get a request to actually put all this on paper. Like, what are y'all doing? Because we want to duplicate it in the Mid-Atlantic. And Kathy and I were like, okay, cool. So we put together this protocol, and my notes from Will. We created a protocol. In 2018, Marco funded a Mid-Atlantic Prevent Balloon Litter campaign, and we started conducting surveys in all 5 states. Who has participated in a balloon litter study in here? A few of you. Okay. We've chilled out. We took out the GPS and all that stuff. I know, you guys. The surveys revisit the same 1-mile stretch of beach to count and characterize balloon litter in addition to counting other debris. This allows us one way of looking at trends in the occurrence of balloons and other debris. With this data, we've been able to note that balloon debris is in the top 5 debris types for all states but Maryland. Good job, Maryland. However, when you sum the debris collected, balloon debris is the top debris type found. Let's see. Continually visiting these sites provides a robust long-term record that will only improve with time. We maintain all of the data on our workgroup's shared Google Drive and put summary information on the Marco data portal where you can zoom into each site and see patterns in balloons and other debris. By looking at not just balloon litter, but other debris, you kind of start to see trends. And one of the things that came out of this data was also that Rethink Your Drink campaign. So we were also seeing a big problem with plastic bottles. The Mid-Atlantic Work Group got together and decided that would be a target type of marine debris to work on. But you can see, the trends here within all 4 states. A lot of what you might see in the numbers is the location of the surveys where they're taking place. Fisherman Island, like I said, it's a very unique place. If you're in a place where other people go, then you may find that just general beach walkers are picking up some of your balloons, so you're not finding as many, or you're just not in a place where they're washing in. We just recently released an 11-year report on Fisherman Island. Again, balloon debris is still falling into that top debris type. You can find this report on the Clean Virginia Waterways website. I've got 5 minutes for the next talk. I have another talk to give. I'm going to try and knock this out in 5 minutes. Okay. So while all that's going on, we're also trying to change the Virginia balloon law. So Virginia has a law on the books, or had a law on the books from 1991 that said it is illegal to release 50 or more balloons within a 24-hour period, thus making it totally legal to release up to 49. Legal littering, right? So we're gonna change this law. Let me explain a little bit about the Virginia General Assembly and how laws are passed. First of all, we're a Dillon rule state. In some states, like New York, New Jersey, you can go to towns, counties, and you can change a law in just that locality. In Virginia, you have to go through the state to change a law. You have to go to the General Assembly. And the General Assembly only happens for 30 to 60 days, depending on if it's a short-term or a long-term year. And in that time, they have to pass these hundreds of laws. And each bill has to go to a subcommittee, and then the Senate, and then the subcommittee, and then the House before it can be passed. So again, that 1991 law, it was on the books. We're like, we need to change this. This is dumb. It's literally allowing people to litter balloons. It was in response to a mass balloon release that was being planned by Boy Scouts back in the early 90s, late 80s, or probably around 1990. Running out of steam. So in 2015, our first attempt, Senator Jeff McWaters, he was senator from the oceanfront, and he pretty much stuck with the original law. Just it was a $5 fine per balloon, and just making it illegal to intentionally release balloons. What we did is we created some informational flyer to hand out to all of our representatives so they had more information. We only had a couple years of data at this point in time. We did have some pretty interesting photos. We did point out that balloons can cause power line issues. Unfortunately, poor Senator McWaters was kind of laughed. What did we talk, what was it, snickering? It definitely did not pass the snicker test. Poor Senator McWaters walked into his office one morning to 300 balloons in his office. Needless to say, it didn't make it very far. And on my Whova profile, I do have the video of the heckling from that presentation. Fast forward 5 years, we're like, okay, let's regather, refocus, get our data, more data, more data, more data. That year, we had 2 bills introduced. Senator Kiggins, also from the oceanfront, wanted to reduce it down to 1 balloon. So I showed her that. That's 1 balloon. Well, we still want to allow people that are memorializing to be able to release 1 balloon. Her motivation, not just being at the oceanfront and a proponent for this Chesapeake Bay, she was also a former Navy helicopter pilot and understood that balloons can interfere with air traffic. But maybe not 1 balloon. That one would. Delegate Nancy Guy, now she was more on track. 0 balloons, no intentional balloon releases, with a fine of $250 per balloon. That was our litter law, $250 per incident of littering. So it made sense. We match it with the litter law because it is littering. They didn't like that. They were like, nope, that's too much. Back up just a little bit. We did create a more robust outreach campaign for our representatives. We had a lot more data to show them. They were on board. This was at the subcommittee. They were on board with this. They just didn't like the fine. Come back next year. And then COVID. We had our list of talking points that we shared out with our people that wanted to see this law get passed. We had created a Facebook group page so that we can inform people, like, okay, now's the time to write to your representative. Went back in 2021, pretty much the same law. There were a few changes, prohibits any individual 16 years and up. If you are responsible for organizing a balloon release for kids, you would be responsible for the fine, which was now down to $25 per balloon. And it passed. I don't think I'm going to have time for the video. Needless to say, none of these passed the snicker test. Can I play just a minute? Do I have to? I know I'm running out of time, but it's pretty remarkable that these people represent us.
$5 per balloon. Yes, it only applies to adults or individuals 16 and older, so you don't have to worry about kids at a birthday party getting hauled off in the back of black and white. But the bottom line is this is, again, a bill that's an environmental concern in Virginia Beach, and I ask that you pass the bill.
Mr. President, will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator
How many-
yields, you have the floor.
Mr. President, I ask him, how many balloons? So if you release one balloon, you can get busted?
Senator's the floor.
Yes. It's releasing any non-biodegradable balloon outdoors. So you have to be outdoors, it has to be non-biodegradable, and it has to, of course, float up into the atmosphere.
Further question, Mr. President?
Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields, you have the floor.
Is there a mens rea, or is this a general intent crime?
Senator's the floor.
It says intentionally releasing. So if I was at a party and you hit my arm and caused it to float up into the air, I would be innocent. You would be guilty.
Further question?
Further question, Mr. President?
Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields, you have the floor.
Would there require, is this one of those things that is for a police officer something in plain view, or would they have to have a search warrant to do these kind of things? Would they be hiding around the bouncy house just waiting?
I think the interesting
floor.
fact pattern would be if a police officer sees a balloon floating up into the sky and then drives and sees Stanley with a drink in his backyard, whether or not he
they
has a
can't see
sufficient
it.
cause to make an arrest. I would say yes.
Final question, Mr. President?
All right, I won't make you suffer through any more of that. Oh, where is it? Well, oh, it's still up there. I just can't see it on here. Okay. Needless to say, the law passed. Governor Northam signed it into law on July 1st of 2021, and interestingly enough, in that balloon, that 14-year or 12-year report, 11 years, it seems like forever, what we have seen is since the law has passed, and we can't credit this entirely to the law, you're going to find out what we can credit it to as well here in a minute, but that we have seen a significant decrease in the numbers of balloons per mile since that law passed. And that's that. I don't know how to get do you want to get this back up? That's it, I'm done.
Okay, so why am I in front of you today talking about balloons? It's because I hung out with Christina and Katie and Kathy.
You make your own choices.
So, and it's also because I love animals. I'll get teary-eyed. No, but seriously, I love animals. And this is what doesn't sit right with me. We see these images and we ask ourselves why. So, and we know while all marine debris has some potential to harm wildlife, balloons have been identified as among the 5 deadliest types of debris, marine debris. And balloons are unique among the marine debris types since they are often purchased with the intent to release en masse into the environment during memorial events, sporting events, celebrations, and fundraisers. One of the actions identified in the first Virginia Marine Debris Reduction Plan, and as a result of the balloon monitoring research that had been done, we decided that design and implementation of a community-based social marketing campaign targeting behaviors that would reduce balloon release, this was a priority for us. So one of the important points about community-based social marketing and behavior change is that you can never assume why people do what they do. Understanding the attitudes, the perceptions, real or perceived, and the knowledge of your audience is really a critical first step in changing behavior. So extensive statewide research was first conducted into Virginia to understand why people release balloons, which informed design of a campaign strategy that targets balloon release. And we decided to first focus on weddings. So this is what we learned that helped inform the Joyful Send-Off campaign. Again, this research was carefully comprehensive so that it not only informed the Joyful Send-Off campaign strategy, but it laid a foundation for additional strategies to reduce balloon release during other celebratory events and memorial events. But we decided to focus on celebratory first, because once we really educated couples in their decision of what they were going to do with their send-off, and we're asking them not to release balloons. Once we've really educated them and changed their behavior in that regard, our feeling is that it would change the way they behaved into the future when participating in events. And then after additional research throughout the Mid-Atlantic to validate Virginia's findings, the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign was designed, which does focus all events, memorial and celebratory. On the slide here are some of the themes of what we heard when we listened to people who admitted to intentionally releasing balloons. Balloon release participants have a powerful emotional response to the act of sending up balloons. A feeling of release of grief and sadness, a perception that the balloon represents prayers going up to heaven and a connection to a lost loved one, or sheer joy at shared celebrations. The feeling they're creating this beautiful visual spectacle, which is what we encountered with releases at weddings, was that beautiful spectacle that you're capturing in imagery. People often do not think about where balloons go. I don't understand that, but people don't think about what happens to, what that cause and effect is. Or they rationalize their actions. Many people do not understand that every released balloon, every one, becomes litter and can be harmful. And some people know that released balloons are litter, but again, they justify or they rationalize their actions. It hurt to read when I was researching and reading bridal blogs, when I heard, oh, it's only a few balloons. It's my day, and I can do whatever I want. Or it's my party, and I'll do what I want to. Have we heard that? Yes. Many people assume biodegradable means harmless. It's just going to disappear. It'll disappear up there, because some people don't understand that it just keeps going. It just goes off into space, and I found that just incredible. And that's one of the surprises I heard when you do your research properly. You're going to be encountered with these, you really should encounter a surprise. If you haven't, then you haven't done it right. And so what was shocking to me was going up to a college campus, and I won't name which, speaking to students, and actually having some students tell me that they thought the balloons just kept going into space. Okay. On their own, people have a really hard time imagining alternatives to releases, and they need to be presented with viable alternatives. And many balloon releases are happening in family groups or with a wider circle of loved ones. That is, in part, this powerful emotion that we want to share with one another. But we're reacting to something that's happened to us, but we're reacting together. So being together is a very important. It's very important to people. And so what it appeared most important to people is the ceremonial aspect of being together during a release, gathering as a family or community in commemoration or celebration, and releasing the balloons together. But then when we heard that if you're not gathering together and you're not celebrating together, balloon releases don't have the same kind of they don't have the same kind of release, same kind of emotional connection. So that was really important for us to hear all of this as we did this research. So our pre-campaign research in Virginia and then in the other 4 mid-Atlantic states confirmed, again, that powerful emotional release that people feel when they release, this emotional gratification that must be replaced with compelling alternatives that satisfy people's needs for, again, creating this spectacle, this ceremony that expresses joy, sadness, gratitude, and other emotions. The Joyful Send-Off campaign, which we developed and then was focused in Virginia, again, captures the attention of couples looking for a picture-perfect ending to their wedding. The campaign's messaging and imagery reaches them where they receive their information. Those trusted messengers, wedding venues, publications, and other couples. And remember that blog where where brides are saying, well, it's only one balloon, and hey, it's our day. We should be able to do whatever we want to celebrate. What was really telling was even in that blog, you had people responding to those brides with, what are you saying? You know that's not really true. So we need to tap into that. So the campaign strategy focuses on the positive and includes colorful, vivid, captivating images and multimedia to encourage the use of alternatives. We also engage the venues, the planners, the other wedding businesses, again, those trusted messengers who influence the decision of couples and share behavioral prompts where they're deciding what they're going to do. And so one of those things that we did was we produced a wedding venue kit that they had available to them so that they could really share these alternatives, discuss this issue, and share alternatives with couples. The CBSM strategy, tools, and techniques are applied in tandem. The strategy is designed so you're using these techniques, these tools that are proven to change behavior, and you're combining them in a way, and you're helping guide people through that process of what decision they're going to take. These tools are captivating communication, prompts, social diffusion, and again, those credible sources. These are used as well in the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign. Prevent Balloon Litter taps, once again, I've repeated this, 5-6 times, the emotional response to images. But first, to those animals that are harmed by balloon debris. We found when we were doing the additional research that seeing those images, people were really responding to those images. They saw those as innocent animals. And when they found out, wow, that's the kind of harm that we can have with balloons, it was incredibly compelling. So we decided, we're running with that. But then we immediately need to help them identify what action they can take to prevent this. So this campaign uses carefully crafted, again, messaging and imagery to capture the attention of the public. One of the things we did when we piloted this campaign was we worked with those trusted messengers, and in this case were our aquariums in New York and Maryland and Virginia. And we hung posters prominently in high traffic areas. Again, in these public spaces to convey the campaign's these impact and alternative images, guiding them through this process of deciding what to do. A website and companion social media offer this positive alternative messaging. And they're also educating about the problem of balloon release. Christina shared some of those other impacts, including power outages, which really surprise people. They never, no one ever really thinks about, what happens with this kind of with debris. And a website includes a page for teachers. Fact sheets explain the impacts of balloon litter and highlight the alternatives. Again, telling people this is what your behavior this is what can happen, this is the impact of your behavior, but here's what you can do. Here's the action to take immediately. A sticker sheet is especially popular with children, and it makes it possible to share campaign messages on cell phones, laptops, tablets, notebooks, wherever it's publicly visible, and that helps us to spread the campaign message. We also produced animated videos, which I'm not going to play with you, but please go online and watch it because it's really great. It's for all ages. It's a great video. And we also, one of the key components, sorry, I'm going to finish up here. A key component of the strategy is also securing a commitment or a pledge. So first you have to identify that you have to change your behavior, you have to make a pledge or commitment to do it, and then we provide people with the tools to do that. So we get this pledge again in public spaces, and what we've also done to really help spread this message is we've created an exhibit kit that encapsulates the campaigns, and we give that to partners who are using it throughout the Mid-Atlantic to help get this message out there. We also collect pledges on the website. So one other quick thing is that it's very important, another really important pillar of the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign, as well as the Joyful Send-Off strategy, is we tap into this power of social diffusion, peer-to-peer, that peer-to-peer connection, the neighbor to the neighbor. And so both campaigns do use tools like social media to reach as many people as possible. We partnered with real couples who consciously chose not to release balloons to tell their story in a video, which is online. These couples are our early adopters who are going into the community, once again, to share the campaign's message. And articles and ads have appeared in magazines. We've exhibited and spoken to tens of thousands of people across the Mid-Atlantic about the campaigns, about the issue, the impacts we can have, but how we can change that. And I know I am out of time, so I am happy to answer any questions about whether or not our CBSM strategy is effective, and also some of what we've learned in evaluating the work that we've done in these campaign strategies. And I'll leave it at that.
There we go. Okay. So I'm going to answer Virginia's question, was the CBSM campaign effective? It absolutely was, because I found it. And I want to thank Virginia and Christina for the incredible work that you guys have done. Christina for identifying a problem and being like a dog, a New Jersey dog with a bone, and just I'm gonna take this. The goal is to prevent this single-use plastic foil balloon from ever falling on land and see them safely disposed of. We've been able to do this, to use the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign as a foundation for our balloon mission, and through collaborative partnerships as an engine for progress and positive change. Will, that had to have been your title, right? Somebody came up with it because it was in the progress notes. Jess, awesome. Love that title. At its core, PBL's goal is to target and address balloon releases through positive behavioral change with the CBSM campaign. It's okay to use balloons. This is what I could get behind. It was such an approachable and easy message. We're not attacking people. We're just saying, hey, we're not balloon haters. We hate them out there. We just want you to use them responsibly and properly dispose of them. Let's pop and drop them and never let them fly in the sky. It made complete sense to me. But what if we could take it one step further? Build upon this impactful work and take it to the next level. My mom always taught me, don't complain about a problem, solve it. A common theme we heard yesterday was solving problems at the source. Using interception programs and various treatments, the laundry filters to capture microfibers, ADV funding for a future disposal program, and others. What if we could encourage responsible balloon practices by also intercepting balloons at the source after events and collecting and recycling them, keeping them out of the standard waste stream and out of landfills entirely? Could it be done? Yes, it can, and if you look over to your right, you'll see our balloon collection bin right there. So, who could we collaborate and partner with to execute this mission to prevent balloon litter on land or sea with these new sustainable solutions? Could we partner with the balloon industry to install balloon collection bins at locations where balloons are sold and have them help fund recycling initiatives nationwide? Oh, what a bold vision. Could it be done? Is it crazy? Who are the key players we could collaborate and partner with to help us execute our balloon mission? Before we answer, let me answer the, is it crazy to go chasing balloons like I'm Don Quixote chasing down windmills? Yeah, a little bit. I was an executive underwriter working on the NHL and the NBA accounts, so this took a long time. You figure from 2020 to, took like 2.5 years of this idea just gnawing at my brain going, you can solve this problem. My brain is wired to be a problem solver, so as I'm doing beach cleanups, picking up balloons, I'm feeling helpless. Oh, back up just a little bit. I was doing virtual beach cleanups with the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, finding balloon litter all the time. Every time I went out, I was finding balloons. I'm like, what is going on? Why am I finding all these balloons? I'm one of those people, I'm a constant learner, insatiable curiosity for the world. Off to Google I go. What did I find? The Prevent Balloon Litter campaign. I found balloons blow. I found that this was a problem not just here, but all over the world. And research and studies, and I geek out over all that data, and I'm like, okay, this is a problem. So I was surprised to learn also that no balloon release ordinances had quietly passed on Long Island in 2019. Who knew? Very few, apparently, and the releases were continuing to happen. Over the next couple of years, ideas started popping in my head, pun intended. We have a ton of balloon puns in this space. Can we collect balloons and get in front of the problem, get balloons at the source? When I saw Ali DePerte from AMC's at the beach cleanups, I would bounce my loony balloony ideas off her to get her insights. My mom also always said, you don't have to have the answers to all the problems, but you need to know where to go or who to go to get them. So it's finding those experts in the field, and this community, everybody is approachable, everybody is warm, we're all on the same team. We all want to help solve the problem. For 2 years, these ideas floated around in my head until in March of 2022, the switch was flipped. The Times published an article, How Balloons Blew Up, with innovations in beautiful color palettes, balloon arches, and garlands. Balloons were more popular than ever, with no oversight or accountability for the waste that they were creating. I was literally triggered. A plan began to take shape over the next few months as I formulated a pilot collection program for 3 elementary schools and 1 library. Who would collect these balloons? Where could they be disposed of? This was all volunteer-based. There was no money. Who can go to the collection sites and pick up the balloons? How can we quantify with data that this could even work? Because that data proves a problem. Can we collaborate and partner with people to sponsor and support a balloon collection program? By November 2022, with my balloon radar, it's a thing, fully operational and now a magnet for balloon sightings everywhere, an ad popped up for a balloon survey in 2 days, just 15 minutes from my house. Are you kidding me? There's actually a survey for balloon litter. I'm like, the universe is really talking to me. Like a Madagascar marsupial, I latched on to Casey Personius and joined her balloon team, barraging her with questions and my ideas for a collection initiative. Based on her incredible support and insights, 2 weeks later, I filed the Articles of Incorporation for Balloon Mission as an environmental nonprofit, and we were off to the races. Collaborative partners help propel progress. Say that 5 times fast. Through my connection with Casey and then Fran McParlin, I was connected to the Marine Debris Work Group and invited to table at the Marine Debris Conference 2 years ago. Again, expanding that network out. Avalon even donated and gave me my own personal Prevent Balloon Litter kit. I was so excited. Thank you, Avalon. Through Marco, I met Katie Morgan from NOAA, JoAnn Gemenden at NJCCC, Sarah Weller at Ocean Conservancy, and Christina Trapani, which is really a full circle moment that I'll share at the end. Building these relationships creates a network and gives street cred to our organization. We're not just a small grassroots environmental nonprofit. We stand together. Having Marco as a network gave Balloon Mission legitimacy. I can tap into these experts if needed, and I did. These collaborative partnerships gave me a foothold in the balloon industry at a high level to respond factually on balloon litter and showcase our partnerships. In this welcoming community, I had the opportunity to learn from the experts on CBSM. While the balloon campaign was brought to a close, I volunteered for other areas so I could learn and build the concepts like the Rethink Your Drink Brain Trust. I watched presentations to see how the academics synthesized information. If you want to create change, whether it's balloons or other debris, the recipe for success is getting out there, finding expert partners, asking questions, and learning what you don't know. Just keep pushing forward. As you all know, change doesn't happen overnight. In fact, it moves at a glacial pace. And if we waited for the perfect solution, we'd never get started. So we're taking a stair-step approach to sustainability. In the short term, until funding becomes available, Long Island balloons go to our partners at ReWorld, an EPA-certified solid waste-to-energy solution. With funding and sponsorship, balloons are recycled with TerraCycle. We have some libraries and eco-conscious balloon decorators who recycle balloons with us. We'll be launching our Balloon Mission certification program for eco-conscious balloon sellers to establish a new environmental standard of responsible balloon celebrations. The program incentivizes balloon sellers with our certification seal. They can use their website and marketing initiatives as well. We'll also promote their efforts. So this is a real good partnership. At a high level, we're partnering with the balloon industry, the Coalition for Responsible Celebration, also known as the CRC, and collaborating towards an industry-wide, nationwide, subsidized recycling initiative. Together, we're slowly changing the conversation, moving away from greenwashing terms like eco-friendly and biodegradable latex balloons. Contact me for more info if you'd like to see the official position for balloon marketing on those 2 items. We also strategize together to lobby for no balloon release laws in the U.S. They represent the industry and retailers, and we're from the environment. Collaborative partners help spread the message about responsible practices with our collection program. 90 organizations have said yes to our program, including schools, public libraries, municipalities, balloon decorators, artists, and the industry. We also have children's museums, nature and wildlife centers, parks, hospitals. We will put a balloon bin wherever and anywhere. If anybody wants it, you can have a bin. The collection bins and signs help socially diffuse messaging and empower responsible balloon practices. We took the elements of the CBSM model and applied it to our collection program. Partners sponsor the program by either purchasing a bin from us or slapping out a cardboard box and announcing the collections. We're very collaborative. If you want to join, and you don't have the resource to do so, just put out a box and let's start collecting. Schools and libraries often share the program with reminders in newsletters, email blasts, and social media, especially peak times like holidays and graduations. An excellent example of collaborative partnerships as an engine for progress is our incredible relationship with the Long Island Children's Museum. We solved a problem for them with our collection program, enabling them to keep using balloons at children's parties when the board wanted them to stop because they felt it was wasteful. Long Island Children's Museum designed and sponsored this bin for us and then introduced us to a manufacturer who was building and shipping them. There are 5 of these bins in the museum and 1 in the lobby for public drop-off. 300,000 annual visitors see our balloon bin, see our responsible balloon practice, and we're helping to inspire environmental stewardship. And I love this slide. The Long Island Children's Museum also just completed a $1 million permanent saltwater stories exhibit, We Need the Sea and the Sea Needs Me. And Balloon Mission has a home here permanently, a 10-foot tall display case filled with just 2 months of balloons collected at the museum with a responsible reminder to pop and drop your balloons right at the museum. As mentioned, we've been building a strong relationship with the CRC, whose members include balloon manufacturers, suppliers, and retailers. These are just some of the members' logos in their purview. Marco's impact is well demonstrated in this example, and I'm going to have to go really fast on this. Through the Marine Debris Work Group, I met JoAnn Gemenden and was invited to the New Jersey Sustainability in Motion Conference, where I met Eric Ascalon from TerraCycle. Over 2 years, we have built a relationship where Balloon Mission is now an affiliate partner, and we can offer this sustainable solution on our website. This is a mutually beneficial relationship, as Eric also shares our program as part of his outreach initiatives, and JoAnn will also in her outreach. And countless times I've done webinars, I was a panelist, and I cannot thank JoAnn enough for that partnership. Conversations between, after building relationships on both sides, Balloon Mission has also connected the CRC and TerraCycle together. Conversations between Party City, CRC, and TerraCycle had stalled many years ago. Today, through our help, we were able to bring them back to the table for renewed discussions and answer all their questions. I'm so pleased to say that the balloon industry is now satisfied that TerraCycle is a viable and the only recycling solution available. We're now in the initial stages of exploring pilot programs in the U.S. with an ultimate goal of an industry-wide, nationwide, subsidized balloon recycling program for balloon decorators and event planners. Through the New York DEC and sharing of the PBL kit, I was invited to an Earth Day event where I met PSE&G Long Island, and from there we built a relationship, and I was invited for one webinar, 2 panel discussions, and the development of this collaborative brochure and on electrical balloon hazards and safety. PSE&G sponsored the pamphlet and gave us a grant for $1,000. Because of my exposure to the Marine Debris Work Group, I took advantage of opportunities to learn, volunteering for the water refilling stations and the Rethink Your Drink campaign Brain Trust. I learned from Steve Robbie the value of partnerships, collaboration, and we all need one good factoid, and certainly we did that in this pamphlet. This awesome pamphlet has been shared with libraries, schools, museums, and more. From Long Island alone, we've collected over 63,000 balloon materials in 2.5 years. This is citizen science data. We partnered with individuals with developmental disabilities, adults, who went around to all of our pop and drop locations and collected the balloons from these sites, giving us the citizen science data to help prove that not only do people care about this initiative, but they'll collect and drop their balloons, and we can count them. Collaborative partnerships with municipalities, New York State Parks, and Girl Scouts also helped put up no balloon release signs in parks, beaches, and preserves, getting the message out about responsible balloon practices. What goes up will come down, and these signs help inform a problem. Okay, so my partnerships and collaborations, it all began with Casey Personius from the New York DEC, who introduced me to Marco and this generous community, which brings us back to Christina Trapani and this full circle moment. This all began 15 years ago when Christina saw a problem, had an idea, and had the passion to solve it and pursue it. Ideas build upon ideas, and you never know who will get sparked by that light bulb and build upon it. Now, thanks to the power of these partnerships and collaborations, the engine for our progress is coming to fruition in Virginia with balloon collections and recycling. Thank you, Christina, for your passion and perseverance, to Avalon, Marco, and the fantastic community of the Marine Debris Work Group. And finally, because I'm so over time, as the epitome of collaborative partnerships as an engine for progress, I am so proud to share this video, sponsored by Metro Productions, who actually did the animated video for the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign, starring Christina Trapani and the good folks at CVW, with support from Virginia Witmer. For your consideration, inspired by the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign, my little labor of love, Bubble Memorials for a Better Tomorrow.
Every year, over 1 million balloons are released in memory of those we love. But what goes up will come down. What begins as a beautiful tribute can have unintended harm for wildlife and our environment. At Balloon Mission, we believe it's important to honor and remember our loved ones while honoring all life. Bubbles are eco-friendly and a symbolic release of the beauty and fragility of life. Like memories, they float up, filled with love, in the too brief time we've shared together. Honor and remember your loved ones while honoring all life and protecting our world. Join the Balloon Mission. Let your love and wishes rise gently and show you care.
I don't touch computers, I'm old. So a final round of applause for these lovely ladies that gave us so much information. We're going to get into the Q&A. We have plenty of time for lunch, so don't worry about that. My first question is, why wasn't I invited to go blow bubbles on the beach? No, just kidding. Just kidding. But I do have to reference, because I did make notes. I'm a big note taker because I like to reread and try to figure out what I wrote. When I was learning about this campaign and trying to implement it back in New Jersey, we do a lot of conferences, and there's a statewide mayor's conference at the Hard Rock Casino. I had to get permission to bring a bubble machine into the conference center, which was huge. And I don't think they understood what I was doing, and they said, sure. Let me tell you, what a draw, because everybody that walked in was like, where are these bubbles coming from? And it was their mission to try to track down my booth and try to find me. Note to self, it's a little slippery in front of that, so it's much better for an outdoor event, but I definitely recommend shooting off bubbles in the middle of nowhere, and kids and families alike will come a-running. Again, I still have my own questions, and I'm up here with the microphone. So my first question is, did you say run the gut? What did you say? What was that? I've never heard that term. It's my number one takeaway. Run the gut and find the balloon string. It's not really a question as much as it is, did I hear correctly? And I also want to know more about the balloon princess. It's probably past my prime, but I'm still interested in investigating that. So that's 2 follow-ups for you later on. I'm going to find out. And one last thing that wasn't mentioned, Virginia, there was a lot of outreach about the bubbles or the balloons. And one initiative was about the media. Because media always likes a good, colorful story, and they always run, look at the balloon releases. So, we had a mission to try to educate the media. You know how well that goes over when you tell people not to do something not well. So I think probably a personal approach on your end, if you can. So I've had enough of my questions, and now I will allow, maybe, people in the audience to, I'm just kidding, Will. I was going to allow them. He was like, yes, you have to. So who has a question? Because again, there's at least 90 years of experience, I think more like 100. And now's your time, come on, people. Don't be shy, because I'll just keep talking, and nobody wants that. Yes, we want to run the gut with Christina.
When conducting a necropsy, you always want to look at the gut, what's inside the gut contents, especially if you're interested in marine debris or anything else they might have ingested, what types of food they're eating. So that was just a term. I'm sure it's used widely or not. I don't know.
Never heard it. I just had to write it down. Run
check
the
the whole gut. It was not in the stomach. It was in the intestines. And in order to find these things, you have to look through the entire.
I assume that's what it meant. I just had to write it down and bring it
not
back up
again. Not
again.
for the faint of heart.
So, no, I'm
what was
like,
the other question?
I just wanted to know more about the balloon princess, because who doesn't want to be one? Maybe not me, but what did that entail? Did they have a uniform? Like,
you didn't see her beautiful balloon dress?
No, because I was.
Oh, yeah, she had a beautiful dress made of balloons.
Okay, so I need to do that. So more to come. Joe, see, now I get to control you. Isn't this fun? I love dominance up here. Go ahead, just kidding.
I have a ton of weddings to go to next year, and what would your suggestion be to send all my friends who are getting married the preventballoonlitter.org website in a way that, I don't know, doesn't come off confrontational or preventative, because I still want them to celebrate, but I want to be like, do it the way I want you to do it without balloons, or get a TerraCycle balloon recycling bin.
Very good question, Joe. And really the way to approach that is Joyful Send-Off really does focus. We focus on the positive. And here are some really terrific ideas, some things that you can do that would be really unique to your wedding to celebrate the end of the reception when you go off as husband and wife, rather than releasing balloons. You might want to slip rather than releasing balloons in there, but really emphasize that there are some really other cool ways to have that, again, that uplifting, emotional, gratifying, together moment when you depart, for your honeymoon. So, here's a website that has all of those, cool ideas. One of the alternatives. Katie Register and I spent hours sitting there putting wedding wands together. And one of the images you didn't get to see, an image was captured by one of the wedding venues that partnered with us, that received that wedding, that kit to talk to brides about alternatives. They have a picture of a couple using those wands that are with ribbons. So again, it's the color, it's the movement. It makes a great picture. That's what they're looking for, again, is this picture-perfect ending. And you can make these wands with your wedding colors. You can add to them. And it's something that people can take away and you can keep. But, again, it's really it's really selling those alternatives to release. and showing how it can still be very unique and really focused on what your as it's all part of the package of your day. So that would be a great approach. You can also have some of these, which I actually brought for everyone. I think there are partners in this room. By the way, there are fantastic partners who were very engaged in the creation of the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign. Everybody on the Marco Mid-Atlantic Marine Debris Group. And I'd be really remiss not to, my end slide had this acknowledgement, but these two campaigns were funded by NOAA, by the Office of Coastal Management, also the Marine Debris Program. And we were able to really leverage the dollars that they had to offer with fantastic, Cynthia mentioned this, collaboration, partnership is so incredibly key to making these things happen, especially when you're trying to reach a very large audience, which can be a little bit of a challenge. But if you get the messaging right, you really find those images that are really going to convey, that's pretty critical. And once again, that's really doing a lot. We did a lot of work, that research and the very, very carefully crafted these campaigns and the materials. We spent a lot of time up front. Anyhow, so I mentioned a key component to the campaign, to one of the pillars of the campaign strategy is that pledging or commitment. These are pledge decals. These are not stickers. These are pledge decals. This is a reminder that you made that commitment. You pledged not to release balloons. In this case, it's I pledge to release bubbles. And so we give these to people. It's a reminder to them, a prompt to them, but it also helps us to get the message out there. Again, it's the social diffusion. It's really getting that. We're ultimately changing a social norm. And it happens with the change in behavior by every single individual that you engage. So anyhow, I brought these for everybody in the room. If you want to raise your hands now and pledge not to release balloons, you have now verbally, publicly pledged. You all get one of these decals to take away.
Hello.
The other thing I brought with me, by the way, and this is a really long answer to this question and going off on a tangent.
I was about to cut you off, Virginia, but at least you admitted it.
What's that?
I said I was about to cut you off, but at least you admitted it. You have one more minute. You got to wrap it up.
All right. Okay.
We have other questions.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to cut off any other questions, but I have other resource here I want to make sure I share with you. But did that answer your question,
I'm gonna just
Cynthia
finish.
Wants to add to it.
So how we approach people when it comes to balloons, people are very attached to balloons, especially those, so part one of that question was about intentional balloon releases. The part two is the decorations. As I mentioned earlier, there are amazing balloon displays that are now much more economical than flowers at a wedding. It's about responsible use, and once the fun is done, you pop and drop those balloons. We're going to be having balloon bins in Virginia, Maryland, so you go to our website, www.balloonmission.org, you type in your zip code, you see where those balloons are. We've also had people mail in balloons to us. I have balloons that come from Monmouth University, the admissions department. I've had from Arizona, Massachusetts, all over the country, people are mailing in balloons because we say it's okay to use them. Just don't let them go out there. Don't let them go to a landfill. And being very, meeting people where they are, reading the room, knowing your audience. This is a suggestion. If you're using balloons for the wedding, maybe consider recycling them after you're done, and with a care for the planet. I sit in this space now, and this is really important. And the biggest problem with balloons is most people don't know they're a problem. So it's a lot about education, and that's what was so instrumental about the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign was just all the robust information and research that was out there. Does that a little better? Not that it wasn't good.
No,
but.
no, and it ties into the point that on the website, on preventballoonlitter.org, we do have a little section there that says we are not anti-balloon. We are anti-balloon release. So
Love it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I think that was a great answer to Joe's question. And I think he can ease it in there. I would be just hitting him over the head, but you know, that's my style. So I think Cynthia and Virginia gave you some good info. Will has a question.
Yes.
Been waiting patiently.
And I know we're a little over time, but
We're
I
fine.
really wanted to ask this question. You know, when you see a story presented from start to current era, it looks and might have been incredibly deliberate the whole way, but I'm sure there's a lot of pivoting, adapting to what you have, you know, iterating on ideas, reserving ideas for later, coming back to them. Can you just, any one of you who feel like speaking to this, elaborate on, you know, what it's like to be in it while it's going on, so that, you know, maybe people have a more realistic, or perhaps still just a more realistic view of that process and how you go through it?
That's a nice short question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's a really short answer, because I can obviously go on tangents. No, it was just all smooth sailing well. Seriously. No. There are, and a lot of that was really the front end of, you know, from Joyful Send-Off, you know, our research included going to bridal shows and speaking to brides. Again, really listening to people and collecting all of that input and then really analyzing it and coming up with those themes takes a lot longer than you imagine. It's a little harder than you think. And having worked on Rethink Your Drink, you know, well, there are a lot of opinions. There's a lot of, you know, we all see different things, and it's really important to talk to one another and share what our perceptions are. I mean, we're talking about the real and perceived perceptions of the audience that we're trying to reach, but we're all individuals, and we all come with our experiences, and we all have this, framework that we bring to the table. But that's what's so important about creating something that you're developing this really, really strong foundation, and I think strategy that compels it, and the collaboration, the partnership. But one of the other important things I mentioned is audience research, but it's also evaluation. So it's evaluating whether your strategy is actually effective at changing behavior. And one of the things I didn't get to share is that when we went back to those who pledged not to release, to find out whether they actually did take action, whether they did follow through. And we found out, yes, the large percentage had looked at alternatives. No one had released a balloon, not one. And anyway, this is something that's going to have it has a future. It's an ongoing mission. Because, you know, once again, there are a lot of people to reach, and so there's always time at the table to say, okay, well, so that worked. Well, that didn't really quite work. Do we know why it worked? Well, if it doesn't work, then don't invest what, you know, might have in terms of limited resources and time. You know, go back and look again at you know, what you heard, and try something new. And of course, Balloon Mission is an example of where we said, here are things that we still know need to be done. Media was mentioned. We have a media outreach kit. We need to, we need to go back to that. You know, we need to reach out to retailers. We talked to retailers originally with Joyful Send-Off. Christina went out and did some of that work. It was very comprehensive. Balloon Mission has taken off on that. So it's constantly looking at, you know, how we can, you know, keep this going.
And I just want to say, I think that's the beauty of Marco. You have 5 different states that have 5 different legislatures and a whole bunch of different organizations, but they focus on what we have in common. not how we're different. And I think you have all these balloon initiatives in all different states that are all very similar, and balloons are generated from the same type of events. So the collaboration and sharing of resources, again, I'm a big resource person, because you can take all of these nuggets and go back and look at their websites and save them all and add them, add the links to your website. So then everybody, the education process gets enhanced. And I'll do one more plug before we go to another question. Also on Litter Free NJ and njclean.org, we have a litter calendar. So it's 12 months of messaging. I'd be more than happy to share any of those messages without our logo, so you can put your logo on. Just reach out to me. Yes, please.
So from the fieldwork point of view of like all the 15 years of collecting data, but also like even before that, we had looked at ICC data and like trying to determine if there was a difference between the coastal balloon litter and everywhere else, and we did see that. But the morphing over time, like literally we were just doing citizen science data collection, and then we went out on an island with a couple of pieces of paper and started collecting data, and then we created a data sheet, and then we realized we should be comparing it to other marine debris, and we just, the whole data collection process, and then we, coming from the background of working with stranding response, it's like we collected all the information, especially when it was a human interaction caused stranding, which included, every animal we took GPS coordinates, and every animal we did photographs in situ, and then also like as you were investigating the whole incident, which is how I took it with the balloons. Like, okay, let's, there's a balloon lobby, there's a huge balloon industry, they have a whole lot of money, and they did show up to the 2015 General Assembly, so we wanted to make sure we had all of our information and that it could stand up in court. So if we found a little piece of plastic and I'm like, yeah, that's a foil balloon, I know it is, I can feel it, because you get to know these things pretty intimately after a while, but would it hold up in court? No. And then, so we were taking pictures and we were taking coordinates, and then we got the feedback from the Mid-Atlantic that, do we have to? So it's just a process over time, and listening to the other people that are in the field. Just because you're the OG doesn't mean that you're right. So listen to people that are just as passionate about what you're doing, and just kind of let it grow organically, listen to people, take all that information, that's all.
We're not shy, people. We can't help ourselves. Any other questions before okay, go right. Oh, we got to wait for the microphone, sorry.
Hello. Have you considered incorporating the helium shortage into your campaign?
So, that definitely becomes part of the conversation when we're talking about it. Again, and I think it's going back to Joe's question, we approach this in a very neutral way with grace and respect. When you start highlighting all the reasons why, it's good to include the helium shortage in that conversation, but it's adding responsible balloon practices, and it's when we are talking to the balloon retailers and the decorators, there is a list of responsible balloon practices: to weight them down, never let them go, and not just weight down a bunch of balloons, it's weight down each individual balloon. So there are safety protocols in place, but it's a lot about education and getting the message out about that.
So I can't allow any more questions because Will is becoming apoplectic over to my right. So I will forego my microphone and hand it back over to Will, despite I have a plethora more of notes to say.